Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me for our time together today to think of something greater than ourselves. I know that yesterday I was talking about seasons within seasons. You know how some things will bloom early in the season and others come later in the season, and how that applies to our own lives. That some things bloom for us early, others a little later on, but they're all good within the season. I'm going to take it a step farther today and let you see some of these 3 pictures. These are my morning glories along my front walkway, and they are entirely self-seeded. I think I planted some morning glories there maybe about 10 years ago, but now they just grow and they come back, and then they seed themselves and they keep coming back, and I had planted other things underneath them because in the spring it didn't look like anything was going to grow there. So I put in some portulaca and some other brightly colored things. But boy, these just have taken over, so you can't even see the portulaca under them anymore. I won't need to do that next year. But anyway, these are morning glories, and they were the first things that I ever grew as a kid. I got the seeds and put them in water and let them soften and see the little roots begin to grow, and then put them in a tin can, I think a coffee can, and grew something and let them trellis up a fence that was on our property. It was really an adventure. So morning glories have held a special place in my heart ever since. But the reason that I bring these up is because this is what they look like in the morning. And if you go out anytime later on, and I don't have a picture of it because it's just so unremarkable. It's just a bunch of green leaves, and you see these little folded up kind of beige colored things, which are the buds. They're called morning glories because they bloom in the morning. That's when their glory is there, in the morning. There's a time and a season for every purpose under heaven. There's a time in each day when I'm sure you feel stronger or more alert than others. Are you a morning person or an evening person? I used to be a night gal until I started teaching and had to get up at 6 or 5:30. Totally changed my body biorhythms, and now I really do wake up very early usually and go to bed 9 o'clock or something. Not that you need to know that, but we each have our own rhythms is what I'm getting at. And we need to recognize what they are. We can't just shrivel up the rest of the time during the day. We still have to be functional, but there are times when we have our best work or our best attention or our best prayer time. What is your best prayer time? Is it when you first wake up? Is it middle of the day? Do you sit down and read something or meditate and pray at a certain time during the day? For my mother, it was after breakfast at the breakfast table when everyone had left. She'd get out her Bible. She had her daily readings that she would do and pray. I have her Bible with her readings stuck in there, open to the day that she had her stroke and could no longer do that. It means something to me. It reminds me. It's a touchstone of her faithfulness, And what are yours? What are your touchstones? And in the course of a day, do you notice the things around you that are there only for a little time? Do we notice the morning glories when they're not blooming? Do we notice other things as they are blooming, recognizing that they may not be in bloom for very long? I don't know those answers for you, but it's something that I think about for me as I look around, and like most of the pears are gone from my pear tree now, but that was a glorious season. It brought a Baltimore Oriole into the city to feast on my pears, and other birds have been there feasting, and now it's just a glorious green tree. And soon it will be a glorious yellow tree. And then it will be a glorious tree with no leaves. I'm glad that I'm thinking of that now so that I can appreciate every moment of every color. Do we do that with the events in our lives? I think it's harder. I think it's harder to look at our events, things that are happening to us, and say, this is a good thing. It's a very stressful time right now because of the heat for my daughter at college, where the rooms are not air conditioned, and she sent a picture of her thermometer in her room yesterday that read 88 degrees. That's uncomfortable for me. And yet, this too shall pass. And I think my message for today, for you and for myself, is to be aware of what's going on and recognize that it may just be a passing season. It's not going to be forever. Most things are not forever. And so how can we appreciate them either when they're blooming or when they're not? And then to look inside myself and see what are not just the seasons, but the times, the rhythms of my own life that I should be paying attention to. And that includes the rhythm of my spiritual life. And I know some of you watching are going through a really arid spiritual time right now because you've spoken with me about it. Things are not falling into place. You don't feel that God is particularly present or Spirit is particularly present to you right now. And I am here to say, yes, that energy is present because God never leaves us bereft. But there are times in our lives when we are more open to that. And there are times in our lives when we invite that in different ways, and times in our lives when we go seeking it, but maybe we're seeking it in a way that is new, or we're seeking it in the way it used to work, and now God is offering us a new way to connect. So I invite you to be open to those things as well. Be open to the morning glories. They may just be there for a little time and then lead us on to the next glorious thing in the garden, right? So the seasons of the rhythms of the seasons in our own lives, I think, are really important. And you are loved, and you are beloved of the one who created you, who never leaves you alone, even when you kind of wish they would because they're so annoying, but who never leaves you alone. And just like the morning glories, even when I don't see them, even when they have died for this season, their seeds are dropping and planting and embedding themselves so that they can be nurtured by the soil and come up again. And that's the same for us too. Thanks for spending this time with me. I hope I've given you something to think about and some reassurance that you are beloved just the way you are, that whenever you blossom is the right time, and that things are blossoming around us in their own time. Let's put things in a larger perspective, okay? Thanks for joining this Prayerful Pause with the Pastor, and I'm Pastor Deb Swift of South Presbyterian Church in Rochester, New York. We'll see you next time. Until then, God bless, take care, and bye for now.